So we have to start with Canto 5 today. And in the last Canto, Sri Aurobindo shared with us the secret knowledge that was given to Ashwapati in his yogic experiences. And that continues, and more transformations, more revelations. So as a result of that secret knowledge, what's happening in the being? The yoga of the king, the yoga of the spirit's freedom and greatness. So these are yogic experiences through which one can release oneself. The spirit can get released from the ties of mind, life, and physical. And it may appear that maybe it is just for some special individuals this yoga to do. But the more we read and understand and realize in ourselves that this is a task for each one of us, we can't step back from this. So if we have, even if a glimpse of understanding has come that this is to be done, then we all have to, in our little baby steps, we have to progress on this path. And that's why Sri Aurobindo and Mother have shared or showed us the way. They've shown us the way. So let us start. Today we'll start with Canto 5, the Yoga of the King, the Yoga of the Spirit's freedom and greatness. And today, since I don't want to rush through these lines, I'll be reading in between of various things that came to me. Something from maybe Synthesis of Yoga, something from Isha Upanishad. So if we are all okay with that, we can go little deeper into what is being said. So before we start the new canto, as we always do, let us have a overlap. So we'll maybe start with, this one, Across the Salt Waste of Endless Years, on page number 72, canto 4, the last few stanzas. So anyone who feels ready, let us begin.
Across the salt waste of the endless years, her ocean winds impel his errant boat, the cosmic waters splashing as he goes, a rumor around him and danger and a call. Always he follows in her force's wake. He sails through life and death and other life. He travels on through waking and through sleep.
Monica, I'll read.
Yes, please, Shardaji.
Yeah. A power is on him from his occult force that ties him to his own creation's fate, and never can the mighty traveler rest, and never can the misty voyage cease, till the Nishian dusk is lifted from man's soul, and the morns of God have overtaken his night.
As long as nature lasts, he too is there. For this is sure that he and she are one. Even when he sleeps, he keeps her on his breast. Whoever leaves her, he will not depart to repose without her in the unknowable.
Raviji, would you like to read? Okay. So yeah, Taru, you want to maybe finish the.
Okay. Raviji has unmuted. Raviji, you
Okay,
want
Raviji, would you like to go ahead? Raviji, maybe some audio issues. I don't know.
I will read them. There is a truth to know, a work to do, A play is real, a mystery he fulfills. There is a plan in the mother's deep world whim, a purpose in her vast and random game. This ever she meant since the first dawn of life. This constant will she covered with her sport to evoke a person in the impersonal void with the truth light strike with the truth light strike earth's massive roots of trance, wake a dumb self in the inconscient depths, and raise a lost power from its python sleep, that the eyes of the timeless might look out from time and the world manifest the unveiled divine. For this he left his white infinity and laid on the spirit the burden of the flesh, that Godhead's seed might flower in mindless space.
Thank you so much. So again, I although we have touched upon these lines, but it feels like one can again sit with these lines. But it's very striking that how powerful we are and how powerless we feel most of the time in our lives. And even after having read masters, mystics, we have all been reading. We from time to time get distracted, and so many other things become important in our life than giving some attention to this path that has to be kind of, that is to be just, we have to walk that path within. But we forget all the other outer things become so important. And that is why they say that remembrance is the key, because we are forgetful. So whatever ways in which we can remind ourselves to walk this path and not get strayed again and again, not begin to again seek contentment and happiness in the outer, which we fall for because of the glitter. So yeah, it's good to get reminded, again and again. These lines remind us. So here Canto 4 ends, and we start today Canto 5. So let us take these new lines. Yeah, anyone who feels ready to read, please go ahead and read the highlighted portion.
Yeah, this knowledge first he had of time born men, admitted through a curtain of bright mind that hangs between our thoughts and absolute sight. He found the occult cave, the mystic door, near to the well of vision in the soul, and entered where the wings of glory brew, in the silent space where all is forever known.
Thank you. So, Raviji, I think you have unmuted a couple of times, but your voice is not reaching us. So, I don't know what's the issue with the audio over there. Sorry for that. So, now this knowledge, usually, whenever we talk about knowledge, we talk about maybe subjects or fields like history, geography, knowledge about planes, knowledge about maybe medicine. And most of the times, we talk about knowledge coming through the mind, like a filter of the mind. So I read a book and then a knowledge comes. I go through a workshop, go through some training, and then knowledge comes. So although that is there, it has its proper place when we start our journey from ignorance. But this knowledge that this Ashwapati, King Ashwapati, for those of us who have joined maybe for the first time, is father of Savitri. This knowledge first he had of time born men. So Ashwapati was the first to be given this knowledge, the knowledge which will be detailed now with the coming lines. Admitted through a curtain of bright mind. Now we so much rely on our minds. And if something is not appealing to the mind, we would not rather believe it. But when we read or go through Maharishi Aurobindo's words, we see again and again this being brought up, that mind, no matter how bright it may be, it yet is a curtain between the absolute truth and our sight. So as Mother says, reason is the helper, reason is the bar. So in ignorance, when we start, reason helps us. But then there comes a time in our life when we are seeking for more clarity, more wisdom, more deeper truth. We will have to let go of the mind. It's not to be done physically in one sense, but begin to question, begin to stop buying into the dictates of the mind, whatever the mind tells us. So how Ashupati gets to this knowledge is that he's admitted, he's able to enter beyond the curtain of a bright mind, admitted through a curtain of bright mind that hangs between our thoughts and absolute sight. So this, because of this mind, we are not able to have true knowledge. So imagine that you're looking at anything, like an insect or anything. Now, if I look at it for the first time with no prior knowledge of it, there is a different experience. And what mind does it? It goes back in the past and it connects the dots. So if I have read anything about that insect, so called, I would connect the dots in my mind. And when I'm looking at that insect, it's not the insect that I'm looking at. I'm looking at the thoughts about the insect, which are already there in my preconditioned mind. So it's almost a yogic sadhana for each one of us to understand this limitation of the mind, no matter how helpful it is for day-to-day purposes in our ignorance. But when we reach a certain point in our evolution, we will have to drop it. We will have to stop trusting the notions and judgments and the conditionings of the mind. Otherwise, it will not let us go forward, and there'll be more frustration, because those of us who feel ready, they would want to go forward. But then there is mind, and it doesn't appeal to the mind. It's not logical, it's not analytical. Yes, it's not logical, it's not analytical. So what do? You keep trapped in the logic. So that's the choice then we begin to make. So Ashwapati was admitted through a curtain of bright mind that hangs between our thoughts and absolute sight. So it's like preventing us to see the absolute truth. He found the occult cave, the mystic door. Now, many mystic traditions, other spirituality also, we talk about a kind of a cave in the depths of our heart, not the physical heart, but depths of our heart, where we have to go and find the light within. So they say that there is a flame in the depths of our heart, which is our true essence. So some of us may have the visualization of the flame, and some of us may have different experience, not to get tied up there, but we have to go deeper into our being, that's for sure. So he found the occult cave, the mystic door, near to the well of vision in the soul. So as we go deeper and deeper in our own self, stay with our deeper silences, a well of vision we reach. Well of vision, whenever we talk of well, it's like a deep kind of something that we dig, where we can just have more and more and more water, right? So for well, and it quenches our thirst. So when we go deeper in the being through our experiences and the evolutionary process, we have the capacity to go into this dark cave, occult cave, and there we have, in the depths of that soul, near to the well of vision in the soul. And where does it go forward? and entered where the wings of glory brood in the silent space where all is forever known. So we have manifest whatever is there in creation, whatever is known and manifested in material world, and then there are things that are not even known and they are still unmanifest. Now those things which are still unmanifest, it's just that they are not in material manifestation, but they are being prepared for the manifestation. So whatever is seemingly impossible right now is possible in some time because it is being prepared. So where he reached in the depths of his being, where he had this vision which never dries, and entered where the wings of glory brood. So it's almost like a imagery used for a, like a bird sitting on the eggs, and like a bird broods, sits on the eggs and prepares them for hatching. So that hatching is being done in that silent space where all is forever known. And that is why, many masters have said that in the depths of your being, you have all the knowledge. We are all gyanis. But in our ignorance, and we just uh, don't settle within. The mind is so jumpy like a monkey that again and again it rushes outside. कि कहीं से मिल जाए, and even that is made use of actually. So even that seeking, which is an outward seeking, the divine makes use of that seeking. So you meet people, you meet gurus, masters, you come across a book which again realigns us to the path within. So he touched this space within. He had that sight because of the vision of the soul, uh, owing to which he became aware of this, even the unmanifest, all that is yet not manifested, and it is being prepared for manifestation, like hatching of the eggs. Yeah, anything here? Anyone? Any reflections? Yeah, Raviji, you're not audible at all. Something is really wrong. Yeah, sorry. I hope you can maybe hear though. So let's go ahead, keep sharing if there is anything.
Yeah, I have a question. Yeah, I'm
Ah,
sure you must have told that in the beginning.
uh-huh.
But why was Ashwapati, the father of Savitri, given the knowledge? Like, why was he the first to get it?
Why was he the first to get it? Because he started walking on the path of sadhana. He gave
Okay.
himself to sadhana. And also, it is being shown that he wanted all this knowledge for the benefit of the mankind. So he started walking the path. That I don't want to, reach all the stages alone, all by myself. I want to
Mm.
give it to the world. And
Mm.
that's why he's walking the path. Yeah. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so if there is no reflection, let's go ahead. Anyone who wants to read the pink lines?
I'll read now.
Yes, please.
Indifferent to doubt and to belief, avid of the naked real single shock, he shore the cord of mind that ties the earth heart and cast away the yoke of matter's law. The body's rule bound not the spirit's powers. When life had stopped in its beats, death broke not in. He dared to live when breath and thought were still.
Thank you. So, indifferent to doubt and to belief. Now, whenever we have maybe, we've touched these spaces, maybe we have read enough and enough theoretical, intellectual discussions have been done. But then, something in us waits for a practical experience that, yeah, something is missing. I have read it, but I don't know it practically for myself, viscerally. I don't have that experience. So he says he did not care for doubting it or believing in something. He just wanted a naked, practical experience. That I want to practically, if these stages in sadhana really do exist, then I want to practically be there. So, indifferent to doubt or to believe, it doesn't matter whether I believe in something or I doubt something. How does it matter? If I don't have the practical experience of that truth, then it's not there for me. So, avid is eager, so eager of the naked, real, single shock. So, having that practical, visceral experience of whatever yogic siddhis or realizations are possible. What he did forward was he shore the cord of mind that ties the earth heart and cast away the yoke of matter's law. So he shore is also coming from shredding, like cutting. We use shredding the pieces. He cut the cord of mind that ties the earth heart and cast away the yoke of matter's law. So in other words, we can say that as a spirit, as a soul consciousness, or as a spirit, as something divine, we are tied to matter's law because we are tied to the physical consciousness, physical body. Now it's almost like an elephant living in a hut. Difficult time one has. So as a spirit, one is so powerful, unimaginable powers as a spirit. But since the law of matter is imposed on the spirit, we become to experience the limitations. So the limitations of the mind, thought, limitations of the life force, feelings, emotions, and the limitations of the physical body. So as a spirit, I may be like feeling like really flying, but then I see, oh my God, I can't at this moment. I'm not able to fly. So what he did through his yogic sadhana, he cut this cord of the mind, the ego mind, the physical, mental, the emotional mind that ties the earth heart and cast away the yoke of matter's law. So he was able to dissociate his spirit from the entanglement of the ego consciousness, which comes through knowing myself as the mind, knowing myself as the physical body, knowing myself as these feelings and the storyline. Now, we often talk about it, but it's a sadhana to do it actually. And at this, what I was able to find that there is something called hriday granthi, the knot that are imposed on our hearts, as they say. In Kabir's terminology, we would be able to say, like he says, aisa aisa kiwad to hivde pe jadiya. So he says, so many locks you have put on your heart. So he is referring, I believe he is referring to also this hriday granthi, which is being talked about. It's like as if there is a knot imposed because of the ego consciousness on our spirit, which is in the depths of our heart, and our task as human being is to break these knots. So the hriday granthi has to be resolved, and anything that helps with resolving the hriday granthi. So we will go actually deeper today in hriday granthi, because I think it is important and not to go forward just like that. So I am going to read a few lines on Hriday Granthi so that it becomes clear for all of us what it is about and hinting at. So what are these knots of the heart? I'm reading lines by, just picked up from masters from here and there. They are the bondages caused by our identification with body and mind, our ego identity, and the pain it causes to ourselves and others that we all experience in our uncertain human existence. So long I will continue to live as this ego consciousness, knowing myself as the thought, as the body, as the feelings, I will continue to suffer because of this knot placed on my chest. These knots consist of thoughts of I am ahamkara. This is mine. So mamatva, me-ness, myness, I-ness, my family, my story, my experiences. So that's why in Buddhism also we have much stress on getting rid of this I-ness, which is very limiting in nature. Hmm? So this makes us caught in the turbulent, getting caught in the turbulent emotional dualities of the outer world, the entanglements and their complications. Now they say ego identification with body and mind is the cause of karma and rebirth. So when in Buddhism we talk of this continuous incessant cycle of life and rebirth in which they call samsara, in which we are caught. In Kabir's terminology we called chaki. He says that chakki chal rahi, Kabira dekha roe. So he says that you are caught in this trap of continuous life cycles of birth and rebirth and birth and rebirth. Why? Because you're not doing what you're supposed to do. You're not working on these knots as human beings. So this ego identification proceeds from lack of knowledge of our true self. So in Buddhism, we have three poisons. The first poison is attachment, greed. Second poison is aversion, annoyance, irritation, hatred. And the third poison, which is considered to be the root poison of all these three, is called ignorance. Ignorance of my true nature. I don't know who I am. And because I don't know who I am, I fall in attachment because of the sense of lack. I want to complete myself through anything. So I want more and more, desire, greed, attachment, and also fall into the second poison, which is I consider myself as separate and the other person is separate. So anger, aversion, annoyance, hatred, feeling enemy of somebody else. So all this duality comes because of these three poisons. So they say that this ego identification, this ignorance, proceeds from lack of cognitive knowledge of our true self, the Atman or the Purusha, that is one with the cosmic and transcendent reality, which is Brahman. And this causes us to continue to cycle. This ignorance causes us to continue to cycle and take births again and again. Releasing the knots of the heart is also the dissolution of this subtle body that is created owing to the ignorance that perpetuates through lifetimes. So then they say, what serves to cut or release the knots of the heart? So how to resolve the Hriday Granthi? How to cut this knot which keeps us tied? It is direct perceptual knowledge of our true self. The Atma Vidya, what we in other words say self-realization or maybe enlightenment. Once we know our true self beyond all external identifications, then we can let go of all the burdens of thought and emotion because they relate to an unreal ego identity, not who we really are, which is pure consciousness or pure awareness. And this ignorance is also the root cause of desire, greed, anger, attachment, jealousy, envy, hatred. So all the poisons floating around in the world globally, each one of us has to take the responsibility of walking the path. We are making the world poisonous because we are not working of what we are supposed to work here, the work as human being. So they say that the more we work on it, the more we step back from this sense of ego consciousness, thus the knot in the heart is pierced and all misgivings are cut to pieces. And the chain of fruitive action, this accumulative action of karma is terminated when one sees the self as master. This is our task. In Gita, there is these a few lines. Bhidyate hriday granthi chidyante sarva shamsaya. So all doubt go to dissolve. All doubts really dissolve for us when the hriday granthi is dissolved. Vidyate hriday granthi chidyante sarv shamsaya. Shamsaya is doubt. So This is just, I felt this is important because this is a reminder of what is to be done. And also, one last thing that I want to share with all of us here is that mental knowledge, getting rid of the knot of tied, this bondage of mind to the spirit. This is not true knowledge. Mental knowledge coming from mind is not true knowledge. So whenever we kind of connect dot in our mind and we are doing some analysis and arriving at a conclusion, it is a very little window that is being shown to us. It's not true knowledge. So they say that mental knowledge is not true knowledge. True knowledge is that which is based on the true sight, the sight of seer, of Surya, these are words of Sri Aurobindo, of the Kavi, the true seer. In Sanskrit, Kavi is the true seer, one who sees beyond all the veils. Mental thought is not knowledge. And they also call mental thought as a golden lid placed over the face of truth or the true consciousness. So again, in I think in Isha Upanishad we read this verse. I'm going to just try to read it. Hiranmayen patren satya saya pihitam mukham tattvam pushana parvanu satya dharmai drashte. So this golden lid is placed, the face of truth is covered with a brilliant golden lid, referring to this lid of the mind, that do thou remove, O fosterer, for the law of truth for sight. So this golden lid has to be removed so that one can have the vision of truth consciousness. So these are our possibilities. They may appear very theoretical at once, but I think this is something which we ought to walk upon. So let us take any reflections if there are any. Yeah, anyone? Anything here? I've not completed the lines. I was actually trying to build upon. He showed the cord of mind that ties the earth heart and cast away the yoke of matter's law. So now on his spirit, no more it's a burden of matter's law, that there are limitations imposed upon the spirit and it can't expand its wing. He was able to cut off that cord of mind. Yeah, anything here?
Monica, that text which you read now,
Yeah.
can you share it with us?
Yeah, I will. Yeah. So actually, I just
Thank you.
compiled up a few lines and verses from here and there. I'll put it on WhatsApp
Oh,
group.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
most welcome. So going on, if there is nothing at the moment, the body's rules bound, not the spirit's powers. Now, when this cord is cut, it was no longer possible for the rules of matter, the physical consciousness, to bound the spirit's powers. When life had stopped its beats, death broke not in. So again, yogic siddhis, realizations on the way, that we have heard many uh, yogic people, they are able to even have a connection with scientists, and scientists have tested many of these people where they are able to stop their heartbeats for a very long time and then again revive the body. Like, it's not that the body is rotten or gone and they can't connect back to it again. So this again is a true yogic realization on the way. When life had stopped its beats, so because of the powers that rise up now in the spirit, one is able to dissociate from the physical consciousness and get back to it also at will. Death broke not in. So when I am dissociating, as consciousness is dissociating from the physical uh, matter or physical body, death broke not in. It doesn't mean that now the body is dead. One is again able to reclaim. He dared to live when breath and thought were still. So when the mind is absolutely still and even the breath is still, the heart may have stopped beating. even then one is in complete control and mastery over the physical body. I think this also reminds me of Mother's very famous few lines, that the best gift one can give to a child is to learn and how to master himself. I think before giving it to the child, we have to first also parallelly start walking the path ourselves as adults. So the other few lines also are in connection with what we were reading. And after that, if it's okay with everyone, I would like to maybe read a few things. I can share the screen, something from Synthesis of Yoga, which also connects with what we were reading. Just find it and put it on. Yeah, okay, but that comes later. So yeah, let's go ahead. If there are any reflections, please do share. Yeah, anyone who would like to read?
I'll do that. Thus could he step into that magic place which few can even glimpse with hurried glance, lifted for a moment from mind's labored works and the poverty of nature's earthly sight.
Thank you. So thought being still, a silence in the being, and much more. Thus could he step into that magic place, which few can even glimpse with hurried glance. So, because of his sadhana, he was able to have at will stepping into this magic place, which is being described earlier, of which we only a few, he says, which few can even glimpse with a hurried glance. So, glimpses are given to a few, but at will we don't usually have the capacity to get there. But he, because of his sadhana Ashwapati, he could step into that magic place which few can even glimpse with hurried glance. And why is this? Because we are so busy. We are so busy people. There is so much that is important in our lives. Everything else becomes so important to attend, and as if like world would tumble down if I would not attend to all these important things. But we ignore these, and but the wonder is that even after reading Mother Shri Aurobindo and being on the path for a long time, the blindness of the ego is so strong that if not pointed out by a sangha, a people, community of people who are walking the path and who would be true and honest with us, if not pointed, because ego is blinding in nature, so we become from time to time stuck in various zones. It's very good to have people walking the path, because then we can get pointers and hints if there are honest sadhaks on the path, honest walkers on the path. Otherwise, I wonder if ever people did it alone. Everybody had gurus, everybody had masters, sharing of knowledge, talking about knowledge, and pointing, discussing, reflecting upon it. And this has been a tradition that we do it with each other, because we get uh, entangled in various zones. The journey is so long. So, because of our engrossment in the mechanical sense mind, all that inputs that are coming from the sense mind and the interpretation of the mind, we are so busy there that our vision is very limited. because of all the inputs from the senses. And that's why I think maybe in Gita there is this image of being a tortoise, how tortoise uh, uh, like takes in all his feet and even the head and goes into his shell. Like that, we have to go within ourselves and not all the time just trusting on the sense information, sense input. And that is why, because we are not usually able to, in a disciplined way, we are able to take care of the inner self or do the inner sadhana. That is why our entanglements continue. Everything that is coming from the outer senses, outer inputs, we just continue to dwell upon that, being worried and anxiety, being panicked about that. And there is no idea we have of the inner possibilities, just because we don't give it time. We are so lost. And even for few, they can glimpse with a hurried glance, lifted for a moment from mind's labored works and the poverty of nature's earthly side. So he could step in this magic place and he was freed, Ashupati, of these limitations, and he could really enter this place, this inner magic place at ease, because he had put so much sadhana into it. Poverty, look at the last line, and the poverty of nature's earthly side. So the usual vision we think we have, all the in sense inputs, all that is coming from kisne kya kaha, maine ye suna, maine ye padha, and plus the interpretations of the mind. These are all like a curtain, thick curtain, which don't allow us to have the direct knowledge. And that is why Sri Aurobindo says that it's good to still the mind so that the true knowledge can dawn. And this can also be said in another way, that once I have lost all trust on my thoughts and feelings, and knowing that all that I know is just a window and it's always a distorted perception, then I would be sure that whatever is coming up, rising up in the being, I don't have to give it so much of importance. I can rest in the inner silence and I will be guided. So one has to get convinced. So what happened in this magic place? What did he touch? Yeah, anything here? Anyone? Okay, so I'm just coloring this part. Yeah, anyone who would like to read? I think Priyanka, you had unmuted. Would you like to read now?
Yeah, I'll read, Monica. Thank you. All that the gods have learned is their self-known. There in a hidden chamber, closed and mute, and kept the record graphs of the cosmic scribe. And there the tables of the sacred law, the book of being's index page, the text and glossary of the Vedic truth. And there the rhythms and the meters of the stars, significant of the movements of our fate.
Thank you. So for those of us interested, Sri Aurobindo has written something on astrology also. He was writing it in, I think, Arya long back, but it's not like he did not complete it or work on it later. They are just like little reflections on astrology that he gives, because since we are affected by everything, we are also affected by stars and the rhythms and the movements, planetary movements. There is an effect of that also. So yeah, but that will come later. So when he stepped into this magic place, all that the gods have learned is their self-known. There in a hidden chamber, closed and mute, are kept the record graphs of the cosmic scribe, and there the tables of the sacred law. There is the Book of Being's index page. So this is a reference to, in what in other words is said, Akashic records. I don't know if you've heard of it, or Chidakasha. So we'll go through it because I just somehow found a few words on incarnate word on this. Let's go through this. Okay. Yeah, so we are going to take up from here. This link also I can share later with you. I think it's very interesting to go through this. So I'm going to take up a few, just a few bit of it, not much. For the mind in samadhi, so again referring to this state of being, the silence is there, thought-free stillness is there. For the mind in samadhi has access to the inner space called sometimes the Chidakasha, to depths of more and more subtle ether, which are heavily curtained from the physical sense by the grosser ether of the material universe, and all things sensible. So, as we were talking, this curtain is there, which makes it is always there, 27 Chidakash, but we are not able to access it. Whether in the material world or any other, create reconstituting vibrations, sensible echoes, reproductions, recurrent images of themselves, which that subtler ether receives and retains. So, as if, imagine that there is a curtain, and through the curtain, the light of sun is coming in the room. So, like that, these are our curtains, mind, life, physical sensations, and yet the Chidakasha is there. So we do get uh, some vibrations from there, kind of distorted maybe, but they are there. It is this which explains many of the phenomena of clairvoyance, clairaudience, for these phenomena are only the exceptional admission of the waking mentality into a limited sensitiveness to what might be called the image memory of the subtle ether, by which not only the signs of all things past and present, but even those of things future can be seized. So, all these intuitive knowledge, all of us have glimpses of these intuitions, insights in our lives. They all are coming as if through that, whatever curtains are there, coming from the subtle ether, which here they call Chidakasha. But these things, which are exceptional to the waking mentality, difficult and to be perceived only by the possession of a special power, or else after assiduous training, again talking of the sadhana one has to do to reach this state, they are natural to the dream state of trance consciousness, in which the subliminal mind is free. So, Mother often talks about the dream yoga. In Tibetan Buddhism, we have dream yoga, that there is much settlement in the dream state, and there is a possibility of getting many insights and intuitive knowledge if we begin to be conscious in the dream state. So that we can get many hints and pointers so as to what to work upon. The subconscious shows itself up, but usually we are so lost that our dreams are also lost, and we are not able to make any use of it. So that's again, showing our possibility what can be done. And the mind can also take cognizance of things on various planes, not only by these sensible images, but by a species of thought perception or of thought reception, an impression analogous to that phenomenon of consciousness, which in modern psychical science has been given the name of telepathy. I'm sure we all have experiences and glimpses of this. But the powers of the dream mind do not end here. It can, by a short sort of projection of itself in a subtle form of its mental body, actually enter into other planes and worlds, or into distant places and scenes of this world, move among them with a sort of bodily presence, and bring back the direct experience of their scenes and truths and occurrences. It may even project actually the mental body for the same purpose, travel in it, leaving the physical body in a profoundest trance without sign of life until its return. So again, referring to what are our possibilities if we uh, keep at it, so many hidden potentialities are there while we live like a beggar as a human being. I'm not going to go further into it because maybe not the matter at hand, but yeah, definitely good to read. So anything here, anyone?
Yeah, just a quick thing. Like we have often read now, like I think maybe about even Sai Baba and lot of Buddhist monks, that how they said that like it could appear that I'm not there anymore, but protect my body, like I'll come back, something like this that they shared
Yeah,
with their close disciples. And I remember there was some, I don't know, fighting also for Sai Baba that, why are we not, if he's gone, why are we not going with the last rites while his disciples protected and fought and he did come back. So it's not totally unknown. Like
yeah.
these, yeah, have happened. And
So again, the lines that we were talking about earlier and current lines, there is something which is very beautiful, and I would recommend that those of us interested, maybe they can go by themselves. So again, there is like chapters on this, what we are reading in Synthesis of Yoga, since whatever we read in Savitri is Sri Aurobindo's and Mother's own sadhana. So nothing is missing. We have chapters here. So the chapter, the release from subjection to the body. Then there is a chapter, the release from the heart and the mind. And then the release from the ego. And after that, there is the realization of the cosmic self. And then he goes on, the realization of Satchidananda. So I'm not going into depth since it's like we can do it in our silences, but maybe there are a few points which I want to bring about, which are in connection with what we were reading. So just like Ashwapati did his sadhana and was able to cut the cord which was tying the spirit to the physical consciousness. So I am reading from chapter 8, the release from the heart and the mind. Just a few lines. But the ascending soul has to separate itself not only from the life in the body, so this separation that Taru was pointing at, or what we were talking earlier, but the ascending soul has to separate itself not from the life in the body, but from the action of life energy in the mind. It has to make the mind say, as the representative of the Purusha, I am not the life is not the self of the Purusha, it is only a working and only one working of Prakriti. Then he says later, the prana is everywhere in us, supporting not only the action of body, senses, emotional mind, thought mind, and bringing its own law or dharma into all these. It confuses, it limits, it throws into discord their right action and creates that impurity of misplacement and tangled confusion, which is the whole evil of our psychological existence. So this purity which has to be recognized, in Advaitic tradition we also I think use neti neti, I'm not this, I'm not this, and that is a uh, that has a right place, that has a proper place here. Now he talks about the proper function of life energy or prana. I'm going to just read it out. The proper function of the life energy is to do what it is bidden by the divine principle in us, to reach to and enjoy what is given to it by that indwelling divine, and not to desire at all. Now look at, when mother says that our journey is from the desiring self to the true soul. That's what Sri Aurobindo is talking about. We don't have to remain stuck on this desires level throughout our life. Once we have had enough, we can move on. So he says that the proper function is to follow the divine principle in us, to reach to and enjoy what is given to it by that indwelling divine, and not to desire at all. So when it comes, it comes. When it goes, it goes. Whatever it may be, person, people, life situation, job, power, money, name, fame. So neither to have aversion to it, neither to have greed for it. When Sri Aurobindo talks about Jivan Mukta, so that's what he shares here. The proper function of the sense mind is to lie open passively, luminously. So it's not like dumbing the senses or shunning the senses, luminously to the contacts of life, and transmit their sensations and the rasa, or the right taste, and the principle of delight in them to the higher function. But interfered by it attractions and repulsions, the acceptances and refusals, the satisfactions and dissatisfactions. So this is how we get pain, because whenever I taste something beautiful, the grasping mind grasps at it like, I want this. And that is what we have to get rid of. We don't have to shun ourselves from tasting it. So when we talk about, uh, maybe tasting sweets or having chocolates, do I do this when I'm on a spiritual path, or do I abandon it? Having material possessions, all the power, money, name, fame, the only thing is that to take care of the grasping, because the distorted life energy, it doesn't allow us to enjoy the delight. It enjoys the delight and then it wants it, and this spoils everything. This spoils our relationships. We I'm sure we all have good taste of it. I have. It has the power to poison our relationships, that there is something beautiful which is happening, and since we continue to live from this sense of lack, we want to grasp at it, that tu meri hai ya tu mera hai, and that's it. That's the end of relationship. Then there is no beauty left, only chaos and clutter left in the relation. So this, he shares, is the true purpose of the life energy, following this divine delight. The delight has to be there. We don't have to shun the delight. And then he says, similarly, for those of us who maybe, if it's appearing too heavy, feel free to exit at any time. Similarly, the emotional mind, compelled to take note of all these discords, whatever disturbing things happen, and subject itself to their emotional reactions, becomes a hurtling field of joy and grief, love and hatred, wrath and fear, struggle, aspiration, disgust, likes, dislikes, so all this chaos, the emotional mixture that mother talks about, this is what happens if we don't purify. So we have to purify the, yes, there is delight in jalebi or whatever I'm tasting, but can I just have the delight when it is there, and take care of the grasping and the greed and either repulsion, even that no, 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 I don't like it, even that has to be taken care of. And he says that this chaos we call our soul. This is referring to the desiring soul, the desire self. But the real soul, the real psychic entity, which for the most part we see little of, and only a small minority in mankind has developed, is an instrument of pure love. So the real soul, the true, when we talk about the good heart in Buddhism, the illumined heart, the psychic being in integral yoga, that's what is being referred to. Simple mind, simple light living. So the real soul, the real psychic entity, this is an instrument of pure joy, pure love, and the luminous reaching out to fusion and unity with God and our fellow creatures. So I can stay with relationships, I can enjoy the drama of the life, and yet not be grasping and clingy to it. From a sticky self, I have to become a non-sticky self. This psychic entity is covered up by the play of mentalized prana or the desire mind, which we were talking of, which we mistake for our soul. So, many a times we talk about, ye to mere marne se pehle meri antim ichha hai. And that is the desiring soul. All these ichhas and trishnas that we have, that is the desiring self. मरने की भी जरूरत नहीं है, वो तो होती है, इच्छा, आशा, trishnas are always there. The emotional mind is unable to mirror the real soul in us. And why the emotional mind is unable to mirror the real soul in us? Kabir ji says, हृदय माही आरसी और मुख देखा नहीं जाए, मुख तो तभी देखिए जब दिल की दुविधा जाए. So he says that all this confusion, when this is not there, in our heart itself, there is the reflection of your true self. But as long as this layer of confusion is there, Hirde mahi arsi, so in your heart is the mirror. But mukh dekha nahi jaye, so you are not able to see your true self. Mukh to tabhi dekhiye, you will be able to see your true self. Jab dil ki duvidha jaye, so when this clutter of the mind and emotion is not there, then you will be able to see the truth. So he's the emotional mind, entangled mind is unable to mirror the real soul in us, the divine in our hearts, and is obliged instead to mirror the desire mind. That all the time we are saying, this is my demand, this is my expectation from this person, the life, this and that. We are not able to still that. We think that is me. And that stepping back has to happen. And then he, I'm not going into detail, it'll get too long. Now he talks about what is the proper function of mind. Now he was talking about life energy, emotion mind. Then he talks about what is the proper function of thought mind. So he says that it's to observe, to judge. But we see that whenever we are observing, judging, we have so many biases. We are full of biases. So even that observation, which is a very good quality of the thought mind, it is always biased and distorted because of this. And then I have also underlined some lines from I'm too greedy, I have to take care of the greed. The release from the ego, again, beautiful lines for those of us who would like to read. I will stop here. Okay, so I think we'll take an overlap from these lines next time also, the lines that we stopped at. Anything here, anyone?
Yeah, just a quick note, like nothing new. But this emotional thing, like you said that, ये मेरी आत्मा की आवाज है, that this is the voice of my soul. Like it's considered really sacred, right? Like I remember when I was a child, I was watching some like I don't know serial, and usme there was this guy who had an enemy, like they were business enemies. And while when he was on his deathbed, like he had a heart attack because of the tension and stress, he told his son that remember they are our enemies, and I am going, and you have to fight my fight. And his son was like so full of emotions, and yes, father, I will not let you down. Like one should be hitting their head on the walls signs, like whenever somebody, it's like, for example, if somebody asks you for money, you might think that, okay, I don't know, should how much, whatever. But the same person, if he comes and he's sobbing, and you'll be like, oh, you need this much, take more, like somehow when we see emotions in raw form, we take them to be as truth, that oh my god, he's crying, like this must be real, right? And one, if we can just be more, I don't know, aware of the fact that that actually really means nothing, like a tear, a thought, I mean, they're all just surface emotions. And this atma ki awaaz, so it's like really hilarious. So thank you for pointing that out again.
Yeah, beautiful. I think Mother also, at one point of time and at many other places also, Mother talks about the difference between desire and aspiration, because many a times we get confused. Is it my desire? Is it my aspiration? How do I know? So I think it's good that we get confused, because only in confusion I would seek to know whether it is my desire and aspiration. So mother says, which is a beautiful thing, I feel, that desire has always excitement, disappointment, and agitation associated with it. So what you were pointing at, I think that's a very good catch, that whenever there is agitation, whenever there is restlessness, uh, it's always desire. It's not true aspiration. And mother talks about the quality of aspiration also. Again, mother elaborates mental aspiration, vital, psychic, all that, but not going there today. So mother says that aspiration has a lot of perseverance. So that a famous example of two bhaktas, doing their sadhana, and Naradji crossing, and they ask that, oh, when will we reach Hari? So to one a person, he says that, oh, you will take 10 lifetimes. So he becomes very disappointed, and he says, oh, what's the fun, let me go back to the sansara. And the other one, he says, you would take as many lifetimes as there are leaves in this tree. Very famous example. And he begins to dance, that wow, that after those many lifetimes I will have the darshan. And the moment he begins to dance, he has the divine darshan. So the aspiration has perseverance. So if not in this, okay, next lifetime, doesn't matter. I know my goal, and I would keep progressing for the joy of walking on this path. So I think that is very important. Even when we talk about surrender, that, oh, I have surrendered, but I haven't reaped the results of surrender. So then it's very, very good check for our surrender, because then I can ask that, if I'm again the limited mind, if I'm still in the same limited mind, using surrender as a means to an end, कि अगर मैं surrender करूंगी तो मेरे को मिलेगा क्या? What will I get out of it? Nothing has changed. It's the same drama going on in another garb of spirituality. So why surrender? Because the joy of surrender. Mother says, why do you give yourself? Because of the joy of giving, joy of loving, not having it as a means to an end. So good for us as a reminder. All right. Yeah. Yes, Priyanka, anything?
So, so much to absorb.
Yeah, too much.
And it was so beautiful. There were so many places where a lot of I could connect with a lot of things that you've said, clairvoyance, clairaudience, and also that when you're walking on this path, that those were very strong lines. I don't have the book because it was thick and I'm not carrying it with me because I'm still traveling.
I can send you the PDF, by the way, agar aapko, I'll send you the PDF. Yeah.
Please do that. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So on the first page, we're still on the first page of that Canto 5. So that no place for doubt. And that, that was that line I don't remember, but that was so powerful that when you are on a path and when you are aspiring, even when we are reading, I'm sure we all are already on the path, we're trying to figure out our own self. So doubt, maybe it might come, the questions might come, the questions is fine, but doubt is something that, that totally has no place, So that was very powerful for me when we were reading. And there were so many things that I don't want to talk because it's already, we have passed the time. But the last thing that you talked about, Monica, about desire and aspiration, that was very beautiful. And because, yes, this question often comes, that where we can draw a line, where we can say that this is an aspiration, or where we can understand that this is a desire. And thank you for explaining it to me, to us, all of us, that, it's very beautifully reinforced mother's words, and that was very nice. So I just want to thank you for that. Thank you so much.
I'll send you all also the exact words by the mother when she shares about how to detect a desire test. Actually, we read it in when we were doing integral education. So we were going through psychic education. There was this workbook that we were following, And there was this detector desire test. So that I'll send you. Yeah, all of us on the WhatsApp group. Thank you for sharing. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining and being there till the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Monica.
Bye. Bye.